Welcome. What is up? Welcome back to the Mixer. I am your host, RC. I am joined by my wonderful and lovely co-host, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man.
The lettuce is looking fantastic, sir. I will have to
I
say
appreciate
that.
that. I'm just trying to match you.
So, yeah, do not forget, self-promote here. Our website, fcwinemixer.com. Got some. I'm putting some F1 content on there. Just posted an article this morning about DraftKings, my thoughts, and just the Miami Grand Prix preview. So you also find links to all of our feeds, all of our podcast feeds. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, I believe, and we're on YouTube. Check out the YouTube channel. We're on Twitter. It's at FC Mixer and really at FC Mixer on all the socials. You know, we got that brand. The brand is strong. Um, what's on your mind, Jeff? You got any tilts to get off your chest? It's been a while since we talked.
No tilts. It's been a couple weeks since an F1 race. MLB is going well. NFL draft was that last week. I think things are in a good spot right now. So I'm feeling good personally. Yeah, how about you?
I mean, I had something a few weeks ago. I can't remember what the hell it was though. So, yeah, I mean, it was either some sort of shopping experience or my daughter getting older. Like that's pretty much my life at this point. So, yeah, I wish I had remembered it, but what can you do? So let's recap. It's been a bit. We didn't have a post um Imola
Emilia
Grand
Romagna.
Prix. Yeah, whatever the hell they call it. I mean, last year it was funny, but now everybody on Twitter is making the same joke. I'm like, okay. And then I like actually look at the name. I'm like, oh yeah, that is freaking ridiculous. Like, what the hell are we doing? San
Yeah.
Marino. It's in San Marino, right? So we'll just San Marino Grand Prix, whatever. And then we'll just go with that. We didn't have a recap after that. Maybe by design. I've spent the last 2 weeks crying in Italian because Ferrari did not fare so well after looking good in the practice sessions as they usually do at Italian tracks. But yeah, I mean, it looked like they were gonna have their best chance in a while to get a good result on a home track, and it didn't work out. Carlos Sainz, kind of, what did he do? He put in the gravel in qualifying. Qualified like 10th, went to the sprint race, which Leclerc led for a while, and Sainz was able to climb to like 6th. Then he got a bad start. Ricardo kind of, yeah, I mean, it was a racing incident on the first lap, and Sainz ended up beached. So he got a DNF, and then Leclerc was kind of just going to consolidate second. And then, of course, we get the "congrats, you played yourself" meme for for Ferrari. They pit Leclerc for new tires to get fast lap, get that extra point, and he went off the track going for said fast lap, and he ended up finishing 6th, right? Down the
Yeah.
order, we got Lando on podium, Red Bull 1-2. I mean, what am I missing? That's it. I cried.
Lewis down in like 12th or 13th, something like that.
Yeah, George Russell. What do you do? 4th, 5th.
Fourth.
He's been the most consistent. Um, I think he's the only one to finish in the top 5 every race. Is
Hmm.
that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he just looks good in the Mercedes. I don't know, man. He looks the part. So yeah, I mean that's the race recap. Not as comprehensive as normal, but we've had some time off. Jeff, did you have any other thoughts on the race and maybe the title battle with Red Bull taking maximum points and taking advantage of Ferrari's struggles?
Yeah, I mean Ferrari. Obviously, it's a long season, 23 races, but with Red Bull DNFing two races basically, um, Ferrari can't be happy with how close things are right now, considering Leclerc's finished every race at this point. Sainz, although unlucky in Italy, um, just not off to a great start to the season. You know,
Hmm.
other than that, I think it's nice to see McLaren obviously figured something out. The last couple of races, they're performing better. Yeah, I mean, other than that, it was a pretty boring race, to be completely honest. With the rain not allowing for a whole lot of moves during the race. Not that it was raining during the race, but like there were a few times where Gasly and Hamilton uh, were behind Albon and were both faster than Albon, but couldn't really make a move because they were afraid to get off the racing line and get into the wet part of the track.
Hmm.
Uh, and it wasn't just them. There were a few other times. I mean, the only real pass that happened was George Russell on Kevin Magnussen, and that one only really happened because Magnussen was slowing down so much, comparatively speaking. Like George caught him, and then I think the next lap he got caught by one or two more guys. So it really kind of took a huge advantage to do any kind of overtaking, and that's obviously weather related, not just like DRS or the cars necessarily.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, it was like I think I told you like the next day or whatever. I thought it was a pretty boring race overall. Um, a lot of the potentially fun stuff from the sprint race uh, or from qualifying got kind of undone with the sprint race, right? Like Magnussen being up in fourth, he then starts the race in like eighth or ninth or whatever it was. Um, obviously it was a great qualifying, but when you do a sprint race like that, it can kind of ruin the race a little bit because you just rearrange the order on the Saturday, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was optimistic that there would be some good racing because of the rain. That always, that's always something that can just mix up the grid a bit. But like you said, it's somewhat negated by the sprint qualifying, kind of undoing that mix up. Also, I mean, it's just a track. The track's narrow, so it's gonna be tough to make moves. And then on top of that, you have grass and gravel runoff, so these guys are gonna be less likely to make aggressive moves because, as evidenced by Leclerc and Sainz, when you get it wrong, it's going to be a significant fall off. You're not just gonna be able to drop a few tenths and be back in it. Like, you're gonna lose a few seconds if you're lucky, and most likely be out of the race if you get it even a little bit more than you can wrong. So yeah, and I believe there's a word in Spanish for that type of a race. It's called the carrera de moja pentejos, which means the race that wets assholes or something like that. My uh I had learned this phrase, lluvia de moja pentejos, which is basically like that misty rain that isn't really like rain, but if you stand outside like an asshole, you'll get soaked. So anyway, that's kind of what this race reminded me of. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what do you think about the track? It's obviously historic, but without significant upgrades, I don't know that it should have a long spot on the calendar, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun track, right? Like if you drive it on a simulator or video game, whatever. It's a lot of fun.
Right.
It's got a really fast straight, some technical parts where you're having to make tight turns at fairly high speeds and stuff, and then you have a couple slow turns in there. But yeah, I mean, there's not many overtake spots, and that's kind of when you're racing these big cars, big heavy cars, you need tracks to be wider. You need them to be, you need to have like kind of clear overtake spots, if that makes
Mm.
sense. And it just doesn't have that. It's more suited for smaller cars, quicker cars, I guess. Not necessarily faster, but like something that's a little more maneuverable. Um, and yeah, I just think with where the cars are now, it's tough because you can't, like as we saw with like Ricardo and Sainz, like Ricardo makes a very small mistake there, maybe taking it that turn a little too tight, and there's
Mm.
no room, right? Like he makes one small mistake, pushes it out right, and you just can't get two cars through there really.
Yeah,
So
and I think
yeah,
that I mean I think that this kind of track does have a spot on the calendar as a one off. You know, we had the rain, so that made it complicated. So maybe I'm shaded a little bit by that, but I mean there are it does feel like off balance that there's kind of more of these tracks than there should be. So the composition of the calendars for sure changing, but you know, this track isn't like Suzuka, which they haven't been to for a while. The host of the Japanese Grand Prix, I believe it's going to be back this year. Now that is a freaking old school track, man. That track is freaking spectacular. It's always been spectacular. It's got that old school feel, but it still races very well. So, you know, Imola, while it does have its own historic well, its own history uh, as an icon on the Formula One calendar. I mean, I, I could deal with it every other year, if I'm honest. But that brings
yeah,
us to well, and then also we had, you know, the tightening of the championship, which you mentioned before. But how much of that was shaded by or influenced by the cooler temps. I mean, I wrote about it. We're not going to know. I suspect in Miami they will not be, you know, experiencing the same cooler ambient temperatures. So we'll see if Red Bull has gotten a handle of their reliability. But yeah, that I mean that transitions us nicely into the Miami Grand Prix first race at this new track. It's around the Hard Rock Stadium in Florida where the Dolphins play. I am fucking pumped. I don't know about you, Jeff, but what are you looking forward to most, and what are your thoughts heading into this new venue?
yeah, I'm excited. We've already heard about upgrades that are being brought by teams. Most notably, obviously, Mercedes. They're bringing a completely redone front wing. They redid their rear wing as well. The track, we haven't seen it. We'll see people drive on it here in about 2 hours, I think. I've only seen it through like a simulator. I saw some F1 2022 gameplay on it, and I've seen some like other simulator tracks, but it looks really cool, looks really fun. It is similar to in style to like a Jetta, not necessarily like as tight or whatever, but like it's a really fast street circuit. I was watching. I shared that video with you from the WTF one guys with Leclerc yesterday, and if you watch it, he's pretty much saying flat out for like 3/4 of the track, right? Like, um, so I expect it to be pretty fast. I expect Ferrari to be really good. I also expect Red Bull to be really good, and we'll see who can kind of fall in line after that. But yeah, it looks like a fun track. I do think it's funny that they built a fake like harbor or dock in the middle of the track with fake water, which is interesting, but like it looks awesome to be completely honest.
Yeah, that part of it seems really cringe. It's like it's almost like they people expecting Miami, they're going to see some yachts, and so they're like, "Well, we gotta do something." And then they freaking Mickey Mouse this like terrible looking artificial water, and they freaking trailered in those boats. I don't know. I mean, maybe it'll look good on TV, but it just feels kind of cringe at this point to me. Who am
Yeah,
I to
I
judge, though?
I can see that, but it's I saw somebody yesterday say that it feels like Formula One's wanted to be here for a while, and they brought a whole vibe and realized they had to put a race to actually get the teams there, kind of thing. So basically, they're saying it feels like Formula One just wanted to party in Miami and needed a race to do it. So
Bienvenidos a Miami. Nothing has ever gone wrong by just wanting to party in Miami, right? Remember when the Jersey Shore went to freaking South Beach? Whatever that
yeah,
was, dude. I love me some OG Jersey Shore. The Zoomers don't know that the Jersey Shore created basically TikTok culture.
oh
So
my god,
I'm gonna hit you with some track facts. So as you mentioned, that like 3/4 of the race is done flat out. So there's two DRS detection zones. There are 19 corners, and the longest straight looks like it is the back straight. I believe that's around the canal between turn 16 and turn 17. Turns 18 through into turn one are all around the Hard Rock Stadium. It's going to be, I guess the pits must be right alongside the stadium, so that's going to be interesting to see.
oh yeah,
I
it's
haven't
a
looked at it
weird
too
pit stop.
much. Yeah,
Like the
it's
pit entry,
tight.
there's a little chicane on it. It's kind of funny, and I saw somebody pointed it out and said, "Watch this! Someone might come in a little too hard and go into the barrier."
Yeah, it's not. It's not as. It seems like it's not as unique maybe as Abu Dhabi, where it kind of goes under the track and there's a tunnel. It's kind of interesting, but I wish tracks would get a little more creative to mess with the strategies, because I mean, depending on how long the pit delta is, might encourage teams to try for a one stop, which I guess isn't that exciting. But yeah, I mean, even making it shorter, they could, if tracks could, yeah, make it almost like a shortcut to go into the pit, so we get more. I don't know, just another variable. That'd be
Yeah, I
fun
wish.
to differentiate.
Yeah, you bring it up. I wish they made pit stops like the pit lane, like it was just 15 seconds plus your stop, so you're out between like 18 and 20 seconds all the time.
Yeah,
Would just be a lot better.
yeah, that'd be interesting. That'd be interesting. Um, so yeah, 19 corners, top speed, estimated top speed of 320 kilometers an hour, so about 200 miles an hour, I believe is what that comes out to. It's 5.4 kilometers in track length. I mean, if I had to guess, I mean, it seems like there's a good balance. There's twisty bits, there's long straights, there's kind of wandering corners that lead into straights. So yeah, it should be. I feel like this track reminds me of something. I can't exactly. Oh, that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the Bugatti circuit. It's the short track for Le Mans. It kind of looks similar. Obviously, that's a purpose built circuit. I think it's got some elevation change. I suspect this track will not, but anywho, and Formula One does not race at the Bugatti circuit, so not going to be a fair comparison. But I think there's enough here where Ferrari's engine advantage or perceived engine advantage or top speed advantage that we've kind of noticed may be negated, because it looks balanced. So it should be an even fight between Ferrari and Red Bull, and then we'll get a good a good gauge of where the rest of the teams lie. Is McLaren really going to be, battling Mercedes basically for for third? Um, is Mercedes going to like claw back? Um, Porpoising. It's going to be a lot of porpoising jokes. Miami porpoises. Somebody's going to say a car looks like a manatee. I can't wait. Any other thoughts on the track, Jeff, or how you see things playing out this weekend? I know you said you think it favors Ferrari, but do you think they're going to be able to translate that to a good weekend here?
I think they do. Um, I'm kind of sold on Ferrari right now, but yeah, I mean, until we see a Red Bull like 3 or 4 races in a row finish, I'm not completely sold on their reliability problems being fixed. Right? Like
Hmm.
they've kind of gone like, don't finish, finish, don't finish, finish. This would be the race they don't finish again.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Um, I'm more interested in the midfield stuff. Alfa Romeo's looked decent this year. McLaren's looking better. Mercedes overall looks like the best in the midfield. But we'll see. Like that's
Oh
a
man,
tough
talk
one.
about a backhanded compliment.
I know it's like I still have faith in them by the end of the year to like get at least close to Red Bull and Ferrari, but I just don't see them really competing for the rest of the year. Um,
How much pumpernickel do you think Toto Wolff is stress eating?
as much as he can get his hands on.
Yeah, he's
He's
just
probably the
looking
only
for
one
the.
in Miami eating it. So
They're probably overcooking the pumpernickel, so it doesn't snap like a cookie. It freaking snaps like some balsa wood or something. Rest in
I
peace, Toto Wolff's food prep service. But what else you got? Sorry, I got to get that joke in. Sorry to
no, you're
interrupt,
good.
but midfield,
Um,
Mercedes.
that's really it. Like just seeing can Haas kind of join that group, right? Like Magnussen's done well. Is Schumacher going to show up? Um,
The answer is
I
no.
think Mick. I'm kind of with you on that now. Like I'm like just thinking about it. Like he's, I think he's a decent driver. He probably deserves an F1 seat, but I just don't think he's that good. Like in that level, right? Like, um, maybe if he drove the Ferrari, maybe he could finish, 5, 6. I don't think he's close to like Sainz. The only reason I bring that up is because he's a Ferrari driver, right? Like, and
Yeah,
that gets talked about all the time. But I don't think he's on that level. I think he's a guy that, like, if you put him in a top machine, like, he's probably finishing. If he was in that Ferrari this year, he's probably finishing like 5, 6, 7 every race.
hmm
I feel like. I don't think he's going to get the best out of a car. But maybe that changes. Maybe he learns a little bit from Magnussen. I mean, last year was essentially a lost year for him. He didn't have any real competition from a teammate. He wasn't driving a real car last year. I mean, he was, but like they put zero into developing that car for 2 years in a row, right? Like, this is his first time in a fully developed, we're actually trying to do something here car. And
hmm
so it's interesting. We're 4 races in, but he just doesn't look good, if that makes sense. Like, at least Zhou Guan Yu has looked decent, right? Like, he's given
right.
us some moments. He's made some passes. Mick just kind of, I don't know. He's had some issues. He spun in Bahrain. He spun last week and took Alonso out of the race, which kind of ruined his race as well. But he just doesn't look like he has it, if that makes sense.
He uh, he had success in Formula 2. He did really well. Um, I just think these cars, there's just too much car for them. They're too complicated, and they can't. Like, I think he's probably a good driver, and on on par with some of these guys. Maybe not best of the best, but you see some of these drivers, especially young drivers, where they just can't translate success from the lower classes or the junior formulas, as the Brits like to refer to them, into success at the GP level. And although he's not been in the greatest of cars, there's enough variance from race to race where you see guys that do have it get good results. Like, I mean, Pierre Gasly, for instance, has shown that he can on like an off. I mean, shit, he won a race. You know what I mean? In not the best car. Kevin Magnussen's obviously done well in the Haas. And we've seen it with other drivers like Sergio Perez. He used to do really well and outperform in the Sauber, um, way back. So, and I just don't see that with Mick. He's kind of similar to like Grosjean. Grosjean like dominates other track, uh, other formulas. Like he's doing pretty well in IndyCar. He did good in GP2 way back. I think he did good in Formula E, but Formula One just can't handle it. Make mistakes. The cars are too fast. So, and I mean that's fine. He's still like probably top 1% of drivers in the world, um, obviously. But yeah, I mean, it's not something that where his goal is probably to drive for a big manufacturer like Ferrari. I just don't see it. I think what would be better for Mick is if he goes to the sports car, Ferrari sports car team and races their hypercars, because attaching the Schumacher name to that would be great, and he can have a hell of a career doing that. And we've seen drivers do that, like Sebastian Buemi is kind of a cast off from Red Bull. We had like Kobayashi, and there's another one that I'm not thinking of. Another Japanese driver. Anyway, and they've had a lot of success with Toyota, and they've won Le Mans, some of the biggest races in the world. I would love to see Mick do something like that for Ferrari. I think that would be
Yeah.
huge. Um, and I think that's, although not like the top formula, like he can get some recognition. I mean, Mick Schumacher wins the 24-hour Le Mans for Ferrari would get some eyeballs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So hopefully Ferrari gets creative and maybe goes that route, but we'll see. We'll see. Did you want to talk some football, or you got to drop?
I gotta drop. I gotta go do some work stuff real quick.
All
But
right.
I'll
Well,
message you.
earn that fiat. Mind that fiat, sir.
All right. Cool.
Later, pups. Boop. All right. I do want to touch on some NFL news. We had the draft, obviously, some big trades. Obviously, the AJ Brown trade to the Eagles, pretty substantial. We got the shower narrative going for Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. Jalen Hurts supposedly really wanted AJ Brown, and it didn't cost too much for the Eagles to get him. I think they gave up like their first, or they swapped first, and they got a third, or they gave up a third. But they are paying AJ Brown like 100 mil, so the Titans would have lost AJ Brown anyway in next year's free agency. They drafted a quarterback, and so seems like they're in kind of like um, a rebuilding mode. So the deal makes sense for both sides. I'm excited to see that Eagles offense with AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, who I've been high on for a while. So that should be fun. Jalen Hurts is a fun quarterback to watch. Well, um, he's like a good Carson Wentz. Like sometimes it's not pretty and it's stressful, but He can get it done. And having that weapon there with AJ Brown should be fun to watch. My favorite thing to watch during the draft was the Packers trolling. Well, I mean, it felt like they were trolling Aaron Rodgers by not taking quarterback. They had 2 first-round pick, or sorry, not taking a wide receiver. They had 2 first-round picks and did not take a wide receiver with either. However, I believe they traded up early in the second round, like pick 6 or something in the second round, and got the receiver, whose name is slipping my mind at the moment. But, but yeah, that was hilarious, and I really wanted the Packers to take a quarterback there. That would have been hilarious. Think of the memes, Packers. Like, you let us down. But good on them to to not take wide receiver with their first 2 picks. What else? Marquise Brown got traded to the Cardinals. DeAndre Hopkins got suspended for PEDs. Yikes. Not a top 10 wide receiver any longer, DeAndre Hopkins. So rest in peace. And we had the quarterback slip a little bit. The guy from Pitt went to Pittsburgh, and he was the first quarterback selected. It was like pick 22. Then we didn't see another quarterback come off the board for a while. Yeah, we had the guy from USC who's slipping my mind. Everything's slipping my mind. Can you tell I haven't read too much about the NFL lately? But the wide receiver from USC, the first guy to go to the first wide receiver off the board, he went to Atlanta. So, oh, and then the other cringe thing, Atlanta posted something with Marcus Mariota on their Twitter, and it said like "eye on the prize" or something like that, which is just hilarious to have Marcus Mariota as the guy who's going to be slinging the rock for you. But it should be interesting. I'm looking forward to the season. I think we got the schedule announcement next Friday, the NFL schedule release. So yeah, the NFL is king, dominating the calendar, cucking whatever friggin' Friday night baseball game ESPN or whoever has by doing the schedule release. And yeah, it's a big sports weekend. Obviously, we already mentioned Miami Grand Prix. We got a Canelo fight. That should be good. I think the Kentucky Derby's this weekend too. But don't forget to check out the website. I got my thoughts on the DraftKings pricing for the Grand Prix of Miami here, and I'm probably going to post something after qualifying to kind of gauge where the grid's at and see how the race might play out. I don't know if we have weather in the forecast for the race this weekend. I mean, in it's in a tropical environment. Okay. It looks like we do have, Jesus, almost 90 degrees. So today looks like no rain. Saturday, I don't see anything. Sunday, let's see around race time. Yeah, look, I mean it's freaking Florida, so there's always a chance of rain. It's weird. Google has the little stormy clouds, as Butters would say, but going hour by hour, I mean it looks like Saturday afternoon for qualifying is the best chance of some precipitation, or with around 40% chance. Could make things interesting. That would probably favor Red Bull if it's wet on qualifying, but there's plenty of opportunities to make passes on this track by the looks of it, with 3 DRS zones, 3 long straights. It's going to be exciting. All the celebs are going to be there. LeBron and MJ. Are we going to get a LeBron and MJ appearance together? I don't know that I've seen that often. That'll be fun. The Williams sisters are going to be there, and Yeah, there's going to be a lot of celebs there, so it should be a fun one. Watch it. I mean, it's in our freaking time zone. Well, near our time zone, and expecting something awesome. So really looking forward to it. Don't forget, tweet at me at FC Wine Mixer, and yeah, share the show around. And thanks for listening. As always, we love you, each and every one of you, both of you.